Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Today we're jumping into the ProRevenge archives. Our first story today comes to us from Tales of a Cat. My revenge on Loony Lucy, contender for the world's worst roommate. Let's jump right in. Bring your popcorn because this is a long one. Loony Lucy is a slovenly, food-stealing, clothing-destroying waste of carbon. I dealt with it by keeping my space clean and ignoring her areas, storing my food at work or my boyfriend's place, and installing a lock on my bedroom door so she couldn't borrow outfits that looked like she could fit into when she had 30 pounds on me. All that made Loony Lucy a bad roommate, but I had my workarounds and she had the one saving grace of being quiet at night, so I put up with it. That is, until she broke our cardinal roommate rule: no one gets a key to the apartment without both roommates agreeing. The rule was sacred. I couldn't even give a key to my boyfriend of more than a year. Unbeknownst to me, Loony Lucy had met a guy online who lives several hours away. Within 2 weeks of meeting him, she invites him to meet in real life and stay over for the weekend. Loony Lucy then mailed this strange man a key to our apartment because he was going to get into town before she got off work. You read that right. A man she talked to for only 2 weeks, had never actually met, and who I didn't know about, now had a key to our shared apartment, and she wasn't going to be there to greet him. But I was. I'm starting laundry while wearing only my Victoria's Secret robe because I'll be hopping into the shower right after. I hear the lock click, turn around, and see the door swing open to reveal a thin, creepy-looking guy in a trench coat who just stands there silently while I freeze like an effing idiot rabbit. Creepy-looking guy suddenly steps forward into the apartment. I come out of my startle, scream bloody murder, and chuck the laundry detergent at his head before scrambling into my bedroom and locking the door. He's yelling that it's okay, he's Loony Lucy's boyfriend. I scream at him that I don't care who he is, get out or I'm calling the cops, and my 6'4" built like a tank boyfriend. Creepy looking guy leaves and to his credit even locks the door behind him. Poor creepy looking guy. I call Loony Lucy and ask her if creepy looking guy is her boyfriend and if she gave him a key. She said he was, and she did. She gushes about how they met. I hang up on her mid-sentence and call my boyfriend, who lucky me actually is 6'4" and built like a tank. He comes over, we pack up the essentials, and I move in with him that day. We hadn't thought we were quite ready for that step. Turns out that in the face of Loony Lucy, we were. No apology or even excuses from Loony Lucy. When boyfriend and I go back the next week to get the rest of my stuff, she yells at me that it's my fault that I overreacted, and that I'm lucky creepy looking guy didn't press charges for the mild concussion my laundry detergent gave him. Now, I'm slow to true anger, I'll be and moan with the rest of them, but actual rage is not in my usual repertoire of emotion. But guess what? I'm there now. Loony Lucy needs to pay. Still have that popcorn? Good. Now, the 2-year lease is in my name only because Loony Lucy's credit is so crappy that nowhere in the good part of town would take her. She's been living with her parents over an hour away from her job for months before we started rooming together. Hindsight tells me this is because no one else would room with her prior to me. Hindsight's a B. So there's nothing legally preventing me from subletting the apartment for the remaining 14 months on the lease. I could also evict her, but that wouldn't be nearly as fun as what I decided to do instead. I post a roommate ad on Craigslist and make it quite the deal. I'll keep my original deposit on file and pay the first 2 months of rent and sublet fee on the condition that they know they're living with a food-thieving, clothing-destroying slob. I may want revenge, but I'm not willing to sucker some innocent person into it. Over the next couple of weeks, I get a few nibbles, but no one has the flavor I'm looking for to match Loony Lucy. Then I get a message from Kevin. Kevin goes down my list of warnings. Kevin doesn't care about the food thieving. He orders takeout and hates leftovers. For obvious reasons, Kevin isn't worried about Loony Lucy borrowing his clothes, and Kevin admits that he's a huge slob and not having to pay attention to it is actually a plus. Kevin says the 2 months rent seems kind of excessive and that there must be more to the story if I'm willing to pay that on top of the deposit and the sublet fee, so I tell Kevin the rest of the story. Kevin tells me he'll take the deal, but I should know something about him. Kevin says he is very happily active in the singles scene, not looking to settle down, but very much looking to continue bringing home a revolving door of F-buddies. Sometimes they'll stay for a couple days or a week at a time, so it's good to know the key rule isn't really that big a deal. I tell him it sounds like he and Loony Lucy will be a good roommate match. Kevin fills out the paperwork, leasing office does its credit and background check, and gives it the green light. I mail Kevin my key. Kevin moves in. I get a frantic call from Loony Lucy about a strange man showing up saying he lives there with her now. I tell her that's right, he does, and explain the subletting process. She starts raging at me. I hang up and mute her calls. Over the next few days, I get a lot of voicemails, some raging, some whining, some begging. Loony Lucy has been forced to clean and take out the trash like a slave or something because Kevin doesn't bother. Loony Lucy can't move out because she can't get a lease anywhere else, and her parents won't let her move back home. Loony Lucy has to keep paying her half of the rent because Kevin told her if she stopped, he'd change the locks and move all her stuff out. After a few weeks of radio silence, Loony Lucy calls again and I decide to pick up. She tells me she's so happy to get a hold of me, I have to do something. Kevin is now bringing men home every couple of nights, and sometimes they don't leave for days and days. Yeah, having a roommate who hands out keys without your consent to guys you don't know is a B, isn't it? Does anybody else here feel really sorry for the creepy looking guy? I mean, he was just showing up looking for a bit of action, and then he took a laundry detergent container to the head. I'm guessing that wasn't the kind of action he was looking for. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our next story today comes to us from Ellie Chalita. Cost a horrible boss all the profits from selling his company. Let's jump right in. I met an amazing mentor while doing my master's in the US, who hired me to work for a company where he was the COO after I graduated. I'm an immigrant to the US, so my visa is conditioned upon being employed, get fired, and I would quickly get deported back to the Middle East. The CEO of that company was planning on selling the company to a much larger British firm, so he wanted to maximize revenue in the short term so that he could get a better price for it. He also had a huge ego, and so did the sales VP. She was convinced that I was too young and inexperienced for my job and tried to sabotage me quite often. Part of my job was ensuring that we respected our terms of use for the data we bought from our suppliers. I would make sure that our customers used it in the pre-approved way, that the engineers used and encrypted the right data for each product, and that we reported usage and sales accurately so that the suppliers could bill us. Well, the sales VP and the CEO had approved a bunch of deals where they allowed a customer to use the data in a way that breached our supplier contracts and underreported sales to the supplier, so that they could pad the company's revenue and get a bigger payout once they sold it. I brought it up to them because I thought they might have gotten the contract terms wrong at first, but they threatened to fire me and have me deported if I didn't go along. Whistleblowing would have just gotten me deported anyway, since the suppliers were not based in the US. One of the suppliers asked to audit our reported sales data, but the CEO kept delaying the audit and hid it from the British firm who was going to buy us. I kept track of every single transaction they made in that way, however. After the British firm bought that company, I was one of the people they kept on because I was managing the product lines really well at the time. I got along with the new owners quite well. So when they decided to review the contracts and discovered the audit, I gave them every single file I had on those fraudulent transactions. The company had been in breach of contract with several suppliers, and I had the paper trail to prove it. The new owners immediately worked with the supplier to address the issue and reimburse them. They then claimed that this additional expense had been incurred before the purchase, since the audit predated it, deducted it and the revenue based on it from the company's total value, and then took that out of the payout that they were supposed to give the CEO and VP. Those two buttholes didn't make a single cent off of selling their company, and that's after they had worked on it for 6 years. I think this pretty much goes for any job, but if you're told to just close your eyes and walk away, then you should start documenting what's going on around you, because if you don't have a part in it, you need to be able to cover your own butt. Our next story today comes to us from Dandelion1. Destroy my clothes, enjoy your time in jail. Let's jump right in. So this happened when I was 14 or 15. My mother was married to a man who had an adult son from a previous marriage. I think he was mid-20s. He lived the hippie life, literally on the streets by choice, and about once a year or so, he would hitchhike this way to our house with his friends, do copious amounts of laundry and weed, and generally just take over as if it was their house. They even left the gas burners on once because they forgot they turned the stove on. Anyhow, like any teenage girl, I was obsessed with my clothes. I had laundry sitting in the dryer, including these awesome corduroy pants I had only worn once. Stepbro and friends are doing laundry, and instead of doing something normal like moving my stuff aside or putting it in my room, they decide, oh man, it would be so dope to cut these up and make like a sweet cape. So that's what they did. I saw Stepbro wearing this cape and recognized the material. Are those my pants? I exclaimed. They were in the laundry, man, you know, like finders keepers. I was furious, and his dad wouldn't do anything about it. My mom was pissed because she had just bought these for me, and they were pricey. Mom didn't like this annual visit anyhow, but to keep her marriage, she put up with it. I wanted to get back at Stepbro, but he had nothing of value because of his lifestyle. Then I remembered I overheard my parents fighting, and my mom had mentioned Stepbro had got a girl pregnant, and the kid was like 2 years old, and he hadn't so much as given the girl a penny or even seen the child since it was born. So the next day my parents were at work, Stepbro is hanging out, listening to music or something. I decided to call the cops. I wasn't sure what to say, but I told the dispatcher I knew of someone who might have a warrant out for failure to pay child support. Now, before you say, how would a teenager know about that? Well, my birth father is a demon and was at one point nearly arrested for that same offense. The dispatcher asked the name of the person. I gleefully gave Stepbro's name, and they confirmed that there was in fact a warrant out for him. I gave my address and waited. 20 minutes later, cops roll up. They knock and I let them in and lead them right to him. He's right here, officers. I couldn't stop smiling. They cuff him and take him off to jail. An hour later, my mom calls the house after Stepbro had used his phone call to call his dad, and I tell her exactly what I did. She whispered, "Good job," but then pretended to loudly reprimand me as she was with my stepdad. Stepdad couldn't get the fine and bail money together fast enough, so Stepbro had to sit in jail overnight. Still makes me happy 20 years later to remember seeing him being taken away in a cop car. My mom luckily divorced that butthole and is now married to a very nice man. So I want to get this straight. This guy didn't pay any of his child support, you called the cops on him, and they took him in and he spent a night in jail. You know he's not going to continue paying that, right? He's just going to go back out and disappear, and that baby mama, well, she's not going to get a penny. Also, a question, how much do you think this guy was smoking? When I was a kid, I would make a cape out of a pillowcase or maybe a towel. How the heck do you make a cape out of a pair of pants? Our last story today comes to us from Ryan is my real name. Win my auction and not pay? Oh, trust me, you're going to pay. Let's jump right in. I make art as a hobby, metal sculptures. I only sell them when I need a bit of money for something. I had a holiday coming up, so listed one here on TradeMe, an auction site, for a $1 reserve. The auction lasted 10 days, and the piece got quite a bit of interest in that time, with lots of people adding it to their watch list and bidding on it. It ended up selling for a bit over $500. Perfect. I contacted the winner with my bank details and asked for their delivery address. No reply. Email again, nothing. I look into his profile a bit, and sure enough, he doesn't follow through on half the things he buys. Fair few grumpy feedbacks from other sellers. He's a complete time waster. I'm a bit pissed. I've already had to pay a listing fee, advertising fees, and a $40 success fee. I'll eventually get this back, but still annoying. And being in limbo on a deal sucks. You kind of expect the money and kind of don't at the same time. Got me raging. I Google his email, nothing. I check if he has any listings for sale. He doesn't at the moment. Besides give him bad feedback, there's not really much else I can do right now. I add him as a favorite seller. This way, next time he lists something, I'll get emailed about it, but he never does. About a year later, after I'd forgotten all about it, I get a bunch of emails from TradeMe telling me that Time Waster has new listings. Seems Time Waster is packing up shop and moving to Australia. Seems everything has got to go, mate. Ironically, his listing states that everything must be picked up by the end of August, as I'm moving to Australia, no time wasters. He's got listings for a car, motorcycle, tools, a welder, some furniture, rims, and a bunch of other stuff. I give his feedback another quick look to see if he's changed his ways. He hasn't. Over the following week, I research what a good price would be for everything he lists. I share all his listings with my friends and get them to add his listings to their watch list so he thinks they are popular. I instruct them to go into a bidding war with me on each item up to a certain amount, but no further. I win all of his auctions using a bunch of false accounts. Lucky guy gets top dollar for everything. I reply all of the auction winning email confirmations from the various accounts, arranging different pickup times for the goods, agreeing to pay cash on pickup for everything. As the week goes on, I cancel, reschedule, rain check, and delay every pickup. Bearing in mind, I'm pretending to be different person for each item from different SIM cards. On the day I arranged to pick up the car, it had been agreed previously that he could continue to use his car up until 2 days before leaving for Australia, because I'm a nice guy like that. I text him that I'm on my way, see you at 1. I was late, of course. Nearly there, mate, see you soon. Half an hour later, 5 minutes away, 20 minutes later, I'm here, where are you? Ignore the text messages and waited for the call. Where are you? Annoying, isn't it? What? Annoying, isn't it? What do you mean? You know, having someone bid on your auction with no intention of buying it. Are you effing kidding me? No, I remember being quite annoyed when you did it to me. Who? When? I'll let you figure that one out. Click. Over the next few hours, I called him as the welder buyer. Annoying, isn't it? The motorbike buyer. Annoying, isn't it? Outdoor furniture buyer. Annoying, isn't it? All of them. To top it off, I gave him positive feedback on everything I bought, saying he was a top trader, A+++, easy pickup, good communication. In the coming weeks, I was contacted by TradeMe regarding his dispute. He was wanting to get the success fees back, over $500 altogether, I'd guess. I responded to each of those with the fact that I had already paid and picked it up and was happy with the item. Not sure if he got all those success fees back, but I very much doubt it. This is one of those stories that makes me sit back and go, I wonder if that was a little too far. I mean, yeah, okay, they didn't come and buy your item when you had your auction, but you didn't have to completely screw them out of all of their things before they're moving out of the country. I mean, this person had a completely inconvenienced life for a while you were inconvenienced for maybe a couple hours. Now, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this one, so comment down below. Do you think they went too far? I'd love to know what you think. Check out all 4 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.